Hello. I hope you noticed my fancy dancy glasses. Those are thanks to Mrs. Davenport, Taylor's mom. So if you want to give anybody compliments, feel free to do that to her. Today the objectives are for lesson 95. Lesson 95 is found on page 621, and we're learning about reciprocals. The objectives are find a reciprocal of a whole number or a fraction, and then we will also divide one by a fraction using a reciprocal. This is something that's not going to take much time, mainly because I kind of taught this ahead of schedule. When we were dividing fractions, I sort of taught you how to do that already, and I guess that's why it won't take too long for that portion of it. Alright, so on page 621, the new concept says, if we watch the numerator and denominator of a fraction, if we switch the numerator and denominator of a fraction, the new fraction is the reciprocal of the first fraction. The reciprocal has the same terms, but their positions are reversed. So when you go from 4/3, you flip-flop the numerator and the denominator. 4/3, the reciprocal of 4/3 is 3/4. Okay, and again, it's something that we've learned anyway. Just a different vocabulary word that they use here. Instead of when we switch the positions, we invert the fraction. We are basically making it the exact opposite of what it was previously. Okay, on page 622, it gives us a few examples. It says the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. The reciprocal of 3/2 is 2/3. Whole numbers also have reciprocals. Recall that a whole number may be written as a fraction by writing a 1 underneath it. Okay, they give us the example 2. If we want to make 2 a fraction, we just put it over 1. Okay, because if we have two whole numbers, well, how many parts are these? How many parts are these circles split up into? Well, 1, and there are 2 of those 1 parts shaded. So 2 over 1 is equal to 2 as a whole number. The reciprocal of this number then is, of course, when we invert the fraction, we flip the numerator into the denominator. 1/2 is the reciprocal of the whole number 2. Okay. It also mentions that the product of any number and its reciprocal is 1. If you consider 2/3, if you consider its reciprocal as 3/2, after we invert the fraction, if you ever multiplied those two together, you would get 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6. Whenever you multiply a fraction and its reciprocal, you will always get a fraction equal to 1. All right, let's look at example number 1, and this is one that I expect you to put in on your little worksheets. It says, what is the reciprocal of 5/6? Okay, the reciprocal of 5/6, invert that fraction, and your answer for example 1 is, of course, 6 over 5 or 6/5. All right, going on to the next example. Example 2, what is the product of 1/3 and its reciprocal? All right, first let's just multiply it by its reciprocal. We'll invert the fraction 1/3, and we'll get 3 over 1. We'll multiply 1 times 3 and get 3. 3 times 1 and get 3. The answer to the fraction 1/3 multiplied by its reciprocal is 1, which it will be for the product of every fraction and its reciprocal. Okay, number 3. What is the reciprocal of 4? Okay, well, to make 4 a fraction, we put 4 over 1. To figure out the reciprocal of that number, we, of course, invert it. Numerator goes to denominator. Denominator goes to numerator. The reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. All right, and example number 4. Again, write that down for example 3. Example 4, it says divide 1 divided by 3/4. Okay, I kind of got ahead of myself, but to write 1 as a fraction, again, we're putting it over 1. Now, remember, this is something that we've already discussed. When you divide fractions, the first fraction stays the same. Division sign switches to multiplication. 3/4, we use the reciprocal of 4/3, and we multiply. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, now we, of course, have an improper fraction. So we need to divide 4 by 3. 3 goes into 4 once. So we end up with the mixed number 1 1/3. So this will be your answer for example number 4. Okay, we end up with 1 1/3 for that one. Okay, let's do a few practice problems. I'd like you to do at least write the answers down on the back side of your sheet. Okay, the answer to, I guess we can do A through I. We can do a few of those, or A through L. Write the reciprocal for each number in problems A through L. Leave improper fractions as improper fractions, so we don't have to reduce those. Let's do H. Okay, just do H on the back side. It says H is 5/12. What is the reciprocal of 5/12? Well, we invert the fraction, and the answer is 12/5. And that's what you'd write on the back. Now let's skip through those because we know those pretty well. Let's do P. It says, is the following sentence true or false? If the product of two numbers is 1, then the two numbers are reciprocals. If the product of two numbers is 1, then the two numbers are reciprocals. Okay, is that true or false? You try and think of two numbers, two fractions, two mixed numbers, two improper fractions, anything at all. Think of two numbers that multiply together that equal 1, and try to find one that isn't a reciprocal. I feel like it's impossible. Okay, if you multiplied 1 times 4, you'd of course get 4. All right, that is not the answer to our question. It said if you multiply two numbers and your answer is 1, the two numbers are reciprocals. Well, let's try some numbers that are reciprocals. 3/4 times 4/3. Okay, 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, well it fits that one. Let's try another one. Let's go with 1 times, we better do a different one. 1/3 times 3. Okay, 3 would be its reciprocal because we put it over 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 1 again is 3. This fraction is equal to 1. The answer to practice problem P is true. Okay, feel free to write that on the back side for example for practice problem P. I hope you have a great night. Sorry I didn't take a little bit longer. Sorry you couldn't spend a little bit more time with me, but I'm finished teaching the lesson. So I'll see you tomorrow.